clouds and a god called Cloudmaker. And then the other clouds were kind of metaphor for thoughts as they drift across the skies of the mind. And there is a link, I think, between. That's why perhaps we love clouds so much. And if clouds were never there in the skies and rain just fell from the skies, you would still perhaps be able to find a scientific reason for why that happens. It seems to me clouds are one of those bits of beauty that are superfluous in the world and that are universally available to everybody. You don't have to pay any money to watch clouds. You just need to have time and the eyes to see them.
Padma in Beautiful Place has a very strange life compared to the other girls of her village. And yet, she feels at home and does not feel at home at the same time. What is her crisis?
Well, this whole question of identity in her case is quite acute. I kind of had this character who was adopted by an expat when her sort of family were trying to kind of pass her on and gain financially from this sort of transaction. So she was betrayed by her biological family and has grown up very much loved and wanted by Gerhard, who's the expat at the villa, who's built the villa. So her role has been very much as a cherished child, but not amongst her people of origin. So, but the house, the villa itself, represents the place where she belongs and is at home, and it's a sort of a womb-like place for her, and the whole book is about really her leaving this and what it takes. And I mean, another big theme for me was how people think and how you make choices, because there are so many choices you can make in life, and especially when you're young, like in her case, in her early 20s, the choices are immense, and they feel critical as well, and you don't have the experience to know which things are the right things. So I wanted to look at how she chose, and these choices are actually part of who you are and how you become a person. So, I mean, I myself am defined to some extent in terms of identity, I suppose, by the choices I made in my life, choosing this or choosing not to be a lawyer or whatever, choosing to write. And it's the same with Padma. She wants to become a teacher. She wants to teach the one thing she loves, which is yoga, and she's a very kind of free-spirited person. She wants to travel, really, but she feels safe at the villa. So that's where she's conflicted. She feels loyal to Gerhard, who has spent a lot of money helping her set up the guest house, so she feels she has to, run this guest house and do it really well, while at the same time she kind of longs for other worlds. And it's made worse by the guests who arrive, and they're all from the outside world, and she kind of is aware now even more of wanting this. So I wanted to look at how she chose to move on. And these are decisions that we all have to make at some point, to let go of something and move forward. So that's why I was curious. And to some extent, she's a strong person. So you see her through the eyes of other people, especially other guests like Anjali, who really think she's got the best life ever, and quite slightly envious of her kind of seeming confidence. So I wanted to look at that sort of how you're perceived by other people as well in the case of Padma.
Your first book, R.C. the Dove, he had everything all ready for him, and then in the end, he realizes he doesn't really belong. Then we come to Farhad in Clouds, and we realize he wants to leave because it's not falling in place for him. And in the other story, for Radi, it's totally different because he needs to fight for his sense of belonging. How do you look at human beings, us, men and women? How do we fight for this concept of belonging? Wanting to belong and not wanting to belong at the same time.
Well, that is a tension between the individuals in society, isn't it? And it's one of the great themes of fiction. And we need fiction to bring it out because many of these ideas are things that we cannot report in a factual way. But some of them are very inchoate ideas, and what we need is precisely the sort of frame of fiction to see how these things line up to each other. In R.C. the Dwarf, I think one reason why I feel still quite pleased with my first novel is that in it I tried to write a story in which the reader is educated in looking at the world from 2 or 3 feet below what they usually would do. And in this way, novels are quite good, because if you ever thought about it, when you read a novel and you like it very much, in the end, when you put it down, effectively you've spent 28 or 30 or 40 very quality hours utterly immersed in somebody else's point of view. And when you think about it, perhaps you don't spend that many intense hours even with your best friends across the course of a lifetime. When you look back at your memory, so in a way, the novels that we love the most become very closely wedded to our own consciousness and show us other ways of looking at the world. And when I wanted to write Azli's Dwarf, I wanted to do something like that, where someone who is very, very small and looks up at the world, and always all the angles in the book are tilted. There's no straight scene at all. There's very eye-to-eye contact. Either he looks down, he doesn't just look up at people because he works as a projectionist in the cinema. And the cinema and the room in the cinema from which the film is projected is always the highest room in the building. He has 2 points of view on the world. One when he walks the streets and looks up at people, and one when he works in the cinema all alone and is protected from the contempt of the world because no one has ever seen the projectionist face. You only see the beam. So that I felt, was a good idea for a story, and to show that within the same world, somebody feels completely out of home, either leaves in the wider world and have one place, and a lot of us have places like this. It's a kind of spiritual home for us. There's one place in Bombay where he suddenly his doubts and his problems fall away from him, and he feels like a healer in society because in the book. It's not just that he feels comfortable being a projectionist in a cinema. Lots of men who are unemployed and lots of people who are unemployed in Bombay and have nothing to do, and who in a way seek the dark as a way of forgetting their own troubles, come to the cinema for the morning show where they are taken out of the light, and the darkness is a kind of light both for them and for the protagonist. So the darkness and light for different reasons for these two kinds of folk who meet within the building of the cinema. And in these ways, I think, you never run out of stories as a storyteller. I'm sure the same with Yamanti, where you meet somebody, you see somebody, and you realize there's some secret to their being, which only a story can bring out, and to try and replicate the logic of that story inside the book. Sometimes it takes 100 to 150 pages to explain why somebody does, why they do what they do. And that is the pleasure of writing stories that belong to an identity.
It's that sort of whole thing of projection as well.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to project onto characters or ideas that you're interested in, and to run with it, and to make wonderful new statements or explore completely new worlds as a result.
So these are the problems that make these characters run away or come back. Do these reasons become stereotypes? And if they do, how do you as writers look past them when you write books? Yeah.
Well, stereotypes in terms of the solutions.
The stereotypes, there are certain stereotypes regarding the community that they're living in, and their corruption, things like that, patriarchy, things like that, which might be an individual case, but it gets transcended to everyone who lives.
I think it still comes back to the character and the individual character's motivations for doing something. So in my case, the sort of the corruption element comes into the story because of a character called Jared, who writes a little pamphlet which is kind of critical of the local government, and so he excites sort of everybody around him into kind of a horrible act of violence. But it's typical of Jared, the character, that he should do something like that. And so the whole story of kind of violence and betrayal and corruption, all of that stems from that one sort of notion of Jared as a person who is compelled to do somewhat naive but idealized kind of thing. So it comes back to the character, I think, always. All the actions stem from, if it's believable and that the character will do such a thing, and then the story is believable. So even if it falls within the kind of stereotypical areas, I think the reader's forgiving because the story has by then got its own reason for being there.
Yeah, it's a writer's job to turn concept into detail and stereotype into truth. There's no story that any one of us can tell which in some frame wouldn't be a version of a story someone else has told. But at the same time, there's wonderful details that we can always use. Just take an example, like tree underneath which we sit. I only learned the word for it this morning. It's called the roble. And it has beautiful white trumpet-shaped flowers, and it's a very rare tree. I've never seen one in India in 40 years of living here. And there's nothing about experience in which, every day there's something that's new. And what you want to do is communicate the excitement of this level of detail at the level of page and line. I'm thinking, and I think one of the very pleasurable bits about trying to think about identity and represent it in fiction is that it's not purely just a descriptive job. You have to sort of mingle description and invention. And I came to this problem in writing Clouds because it was very evident to anybody looking at the synopsis of the book, which is where we get to the idea of stereotypes, that this was a story about something that we already know in India, where in certain remote parts of the country, which are very mineral rich, mostly the central belt, Jharkhand, Bihar, Orissa, there are some very poor, isolated tribal communities who also sit atop land which mining companies are interested in. And somebody reading the plot, the synopsis of the book would say, well, this is that bit of the story is about something like that. So you'd be able to stick real life tags onto your reading of the book. And for me, the way of escaping that was to invent a religion that would make the reader feel that if such a religion were lost, then something about humanity itself would be lost. And that was something only the novel could do. It wasn't necessarily just about problems that people already knew about on the ground. You would have to add another level of detail onto it. And this bit I found, as a writer, you always have to work in India with all the religions that we have, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. But here I could invent a new religion, which I invented, the cloud religion and the god Cloudmaker. And one of the very good things about writing novels is you can take the same problem of identity, and if you have 6 or 7 chapters in a book, that can acquire a new dimension as the story goes down the line. And at the beginning, we see this young boy who's a tribal boy. What we see is that his identity is suffocated because some other people's identity is very secure. He lives as a carer in Bombay for these 2 old people. And we all know this. When we run into someone who's very confident of who they are, there's almost no room for us to assert ourselves. And in the beginning of the book, his problem is nobody knows that he's from the Cloud tribe, and they just see him generically as a tribal who's not very, and project onto him the stereotypes of what they think tribals are like. They don't know how to dress, their language is very strange, they come from a remote part of the country, they're primitive. And Ravi longs to be many other things, and it's clear when we look into his mind that actually he has learned the language of political activism and speaks the language of Indian democracy and of rights and of resistance better than anybody else around him. But far away in Bombay, there's no one to release the side of him, and all he does is spend his days thinking about his past. And that's what I wanted to put alongside Kharak's Search of Identity in Clouds.
For Padma in A Beautiful Place, we see that she has a very unconventional family life. And when her real family comes in, things get really violent, things get unsettling, and she doesn't like it at all. But her indebtedness to both of her adopted father and her identity to her biological family, this creates conflict. So do you think it is unconventional family and freedom that finally liberates individuals?
I think in the case of family, it's the kind of, there's the complication of love. And for Padma, there would be no reason for her to return to her original family if it weren't for the fact that she loved them. And that makes her easy for them to explore. And so I was aware that within the family, a different kind of coercion can exist to anywhere else because of the love. And it's not even narrative. It goes beyond that. And that's what she has to struggle with, to let go of the longing for love, the longing for the hope that something could, I think we all have that kind of innate hope that something, even the biggest problems can be surmounted. So she, to some extent, her moving on is about giving up of hope of that ever changing. So the family as a contrast that she has with Gerhard is I suppose, an idealized family where you are free to be yourself, you are accepted, you're safe. So that's her place of safety.
Could it also be because Gerhard is never her biological father? He's always a caretaker for her. So when there are blood relations and then identities are created out of them, don't you think they also become possessive and also have negative feelings attached to them?
Yes, but I mean, it is, in a sense, all parents are caretakers, and that's your job, to look after something, nurture something, and then let it go. And so when he is talking to Anjali's mother, who turns up and is very much Anjali's trying to catch her daughter, get her back, and her daughter's run away. Gerhard's sort of aware that that same instinct exists in him. He's an adoptive a parent who's adopted a child, but he feels that same possessiveness, and he realizes that whilst talking to this woman who's very obviously controlling of her daughter, but he realizes that in trying to help Amber in making this beautiful guest house for her, he has done exactly what any parent might want to do to keep hold of this cherished child. And so for him, that sort of moment of reckoning is when he has to let her go. So I don't know if there's a difference really. I think if you love somebody, you don't want to give them up. And that's the challenge. And if that's what they need, then you have to. And so and her family just won't let go of her, whereas her biological family, but they see her as a kind of way of bettering themselves. So they're not going to let go. And he, on the other hand, wants to hold on to her for love. So well, I think that's both of those can exist in family.
My next question is about the acceptance of identities. When we have arbitrary concepts, when we talk about your identity as a student or a writer, it can be anything. But when you categorize your identities, like we're doing now, like a white male, like a white Catholic male, or black woman, or a South Indian who speaks a certain language or who is Hindu, some things become unacceptable when you establish your identity. When you establish yourself as a Hindu writer, you establish as a Muslim writer, things change. How as writers do you deal with such problems in this new age of the world?
Well, you see, identity is a very double-edged sword in that sometimes it can also be a label that then erases all the other multiple identities that you have. And in this case, I have to say, broadly, I'm unsympathetic to this language, this discourse of calling, isolating someone, whether as a tool of resistance or as a tool of power, with this 1, 2, or 3 word label. And I suppose, in a sense, I'm an at that level, I've come across as an upper caste Hindu male. But within my own history, when I look back, for instance, at my parents, my father came from a peasant family, and he was the first person in his family to go to university. My mother is very highborn, and actually, when they got married, my mother's parents disowned her and said, "You are not part of a family anymore." And I grew up without the idea of grandparents because it actually never occurred to me that is how little we saw or heard of them. That even your papa and mommy have a papa and mommy. And in that sense, I feel I can draw something from both sides of my heritage. And as soon as we look into the real roots of anyone's story, I very much doubt it can be encapsulated in a 2 or 3 word label. And sometimes when I see young people today, at 20 I was innocent in this language, there wasn't any social media, and what we knew about the world was perhaps much more limited. But at least you were kind of tabula rasa where you're open to all sorts of... I sometimes feel when I look at the young people today, I mean, I'm not, I don't claim to be a very venerable old person myself, but at least I'm one generation above you. When you're so sure of some things at 22, you're giving yourself a lot of decades in your life when you will inevitably have to undo some of those categories. So you might as well wait a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole... because I basically grew up in in London, where it's kind of you can't define yourself in those same terms. But if anything, it's the whole idea of sort of Asian writing versus sort of established writing, and that always was confusing me because as far as I was concerned, I was writing my stuff, about women and their, whatever the characters or more. Of course, they came from an Asian background on the whole because that's what I was interested in. But the idea that you define your writing, in terms of the religion, or it just seems unnecessary. Why you don't need to. You're who you are, and your own experience and your very personal, sort of intimate experiences of friendships and family and your travel and where you've lived. All of that is what informs your work. So in a way, unless it's hugely, I can imagine if that you grew up in a very, very religious sort of family that you would want to, but it seems limited, unnecessarily limiting to kind of, then do you only write about those subjects? Do you only have the authority to comment on these lives? Or, you can imagine anything as a writer. So
are we moving closer and closer to such a situation, in this age? Because even in Beautiful Place, we have Jared who writes pamphlets and he talks about the Sinhala Buddhist extremism that's creeping into the country.
yeah.
And this is happening everywhere. So even though it's unnecessary, it becomes necessary to write about it because it can't be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. You can write about it, but I think as writers we can challenge it. We can push at it. We can say, look, this isn't the way. This isn't fun. This is more fun. Look at all these characters and look at all these people you could meet and encounter and engage with and love and whatever. So I guess that's it's important that it's there in books so it can be looked at. And but yeah, I would say to define oneself as a kind of I'm a I don't know. I don't actually. Do you know what? I can't even define myself because there's so many different identities that I occupy. So yeah, no. I would say I personally move well away from any kind of definition.
Fahad's search of belonging sort of ends when he finds love. Do you really think our search for identity and search for belonging really ends? Or is it just a phase where we are temporarily happy and then we have to have more and more?
You're only 23, isn't that? So, yes, I should not seek to, impose a very doom-laden theory of human relations upon you. I think both these things are true. There are stages in our life when we feel an endless plus of being able to relate to other human beings. And some other times, especially you can't go through an entire life without sometimes suffering from stages of depression. And I find one of the most troublesome things about that is not that it's painful in itself, but you lose the power to relate to other people precisely because you're so caught up in your own troubles. And in novels, I'm a great fan, everybody's favorite band, mine is this Pakistani band, Junoon, which I started listening to when I was 18, and to this day I find great inspiration in their work. And they have a song, a few of their songs are in English because at that stage, you're influenced by rock, and they sang a few songs in English and one Urdu. And one of the songs is "I Am Because You Are." And in a way, I think this is very nice as a fiction writer's credo. If we fulfill each other as human beings, and without this, and if we weren't a very diverse society, what would we as fiction writers write about? We'd all be the same carbon copy of each other. And in that sense, there's love, I think, is part of a continuum. It's perhaps the most powerful experience of forgetting yourself and becoming caught up in somebody else's orbit. And of course, it's not going to last an entire life at that level. But there are many grades of love, and learning the many shades of this experience is partly what we go to fiction for, because we go to fiction to find ways, when we look at people falling in love in fiction, we're able to look at our own lives in love in that lens and sometimes look at our own mistakes, isn't it?
trying to think now. What I actually, yeah, I'm trying to think how I suppose we just when the question stops, you know, as you say, engage and you fall in love and you move out of yourself, the question of identity diminishes because in importance, because it's about, as you say, the other and your connection to the other and to the wider world and so on. And so it's one of those things that the more you look at it, the less easy it is to pin down, and the more you probe, and the bigger it gets, and the wider it spreads. So, yeah, I think the idea of sort of recognizing the world, recognizing other people, engaging, feeling love is a way of ending that quest and sort of, in a way, inhabiting your identity without querying it too much.
How has your personal experience helped you in molding Padma and her life?
Well, I grew up in Colombo for the first sort of almost 10 years of my life. So in a household sort of very, which is seemingly kind of quite conventional, but inside it was very arty and it was very free. And my grandparents were around all the time. I pretty much grew up with them. And so I drew on that for Padma's world and the kind of world that Gerhard would create, which was be very gentle and sweet and loving. And I didn't grow up in a villa, but I kind of drew on houses that I'd visited and had in memory different rooms from just a house. The villa is a composite house, so all my favourite rooms and sort of beautiful atmospheres of evenings and people's parties, you know, just kind of drawing together kind of good memories. So in a way, that's and the garden, it's like the gardens of sort of village houses that I've stayed in, and it's very much a composite of good, really lovely memories from my childhood. So I would say that's how I drew the world together, and after that the characters kind of developed.
In Clouds, you said that two parallel stories, and you said you want your readers to connect to one of them.
So I want my readers to find at least one world unfamiliar. I would prefer they connect to both of them.
So, do you feel that sometimes when you are an outsider who do not quite know about problems happening, can you sympathize and empathize with them at the same time? Or is it only able to do one?
Well, every position that had some depth to it, I believe at some point began as a superficial position. So I would not rule out, sometimes you meet somebody and they talk about something that you know quite well in what you recognize to be a superficial way. I very much think that one should not discourage somebody at that point and try and cut them off. And this is true of our own experience as Indians as well. We always feel we know what it is, to be members of society. We even feel at many stages of life, we even have the arrogance to say we know who we are. And then life turns out to show us that sometimes we really don't, and there are many things to learn about it. I'm back in Kerala after 7 or 8 years. And actually, if I may, I want to read out 2 or 3 paragraphs from the last time I was there, giving lecture at the Hay Festival in 2011. And in it, I was trying to make an argument about why there is a direct link between where we are as a society in the first century of our democracy and what the work of fiction is, which is try to tell the stories of everybody in a society. And this is what I've written, because as writers, you trust your own words more than your speech. It's better that I read out what I thought about for hours rather than try and say it off the top of my head. This is my argument. It seems to me that the values of the novel, individualism, skepticism, narrative depth, polyphony, empathy, truth-telling, seem to me to be in dialogue with the values of another ambitious project of Indian modernity, is democracy. Both these projects invest similar kinds of trust in the individual and take a similarly complex view of the relationship between liberty and responsibility. Democracy works through ideas and arguments, novels through stories. Further, the novel's native strengths seem to make it an ideal lens on India's multiple narratives and long history of intercultural encounters, for which Kerala is a prime example. More than journalism or the cinema, which are both squeezed by commercial pressures, the novel seems the form most capable of absorbing India's social and linguistic plurality, of not just describing but inhabiting from within the dozens of ways in which Indians make meaning. In a culture where religion and society place vast pressure on the individual to believe in received truths, and advertising and the mass media now pour rivers of banality and manipulation into human brains, the novel is a reliable source of complex thought and an invaluable bastion of independence. For those seeking a layered and subtle account of India today, one very good place to find it is a journey across the grand continent of the Indian novel.
Thank you. So I think we have come to the end of the session and we're opening to the public for questions. The audience will set the questions.
The one in the middle.
Amanda.
My question is regarding, it is a hypothetical one. It is on the diasporic DNA on the book. It is on that. Suppose you explained about the expat adopting a child. Like that, what would be the rootlessness and alienation of a child born by IVF, sperm donated by a diasporic member? Sperm donated by a diasporic member makes an IVF child. And what would be his alienation like, his rootlessness like, his dispossession like? What would be his culture? Culture is a tricky thing, as somebody said.
This is almost a plot line in its own right. I think so. You deserve to imagine the story rather than there's only so much work we can do. At least I can.
Yeah.
But what would be like his rootlessness? His alienation like, whether it is similar to US plan, a expat adopted child.
Crucially, in my book, she's adopted in her own country. So Gerhard, who is the expat, is very much conscious of her roots are there, so she's with a different family, growing up with him in a different house, in a different village, not too far from her own, but she's very much in her own community. I suppose it's if she was taken away abroad, then everything. But it would have to be how sensitively that happened.
Are there any questions?